Hey guys, we have Brian Dalmaso today from Matrix. You said Matrix.
Matrix Success International.
I keep wanting to say the consulting piece, but Success International. He's a mentee of Bob Proctor and has built an entire coaching program around Proctor, if I understand this correctly.
Absolutely,
Proctor's who's just left this planet.
He just passed last year.
Moved on to another space.
Went on, yeah.
That's the way I like to think about it.
He was excited to go, believe it or not. He told his whole family, don't worry about me. I've been looking forward to this.
That's the way I want to do
Yeah.
it. Like, why would you be scared of the journey, right?
That's exactly it.
So really glad to have you in the home. Glad to
Good to be here. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
Gorgeous.
much. I'm blessed to have it. This came about when the banks were just throwing money at everybody. They happened to throw some at me.
Thanks.
Lovely to have you here. Why don't you tell the audience like who you are, what you do, and kind of your background, and then we can get into some
Absolutely,
juicy
yeah. And
subjects.
I'll cut the first part short. My original background was pretty traditional. Is what I grew up kind of American broke. My divorced parents was 2 years old. Grew up in a third floor apartment with my mom, and we had love and family and all the things. But I mean, she was a waitress, so I wasn't like growing up with Warren Buffett as your dad, right? I wasn't taught those things, but I always did good in school, and I went to a tech school, and I was very blessed to get into the General Electric company at age 17 in their engineering program.
What year are we talking about?
Oh boy.
80, 85, 88?
Yeah, 88, yep. And that was a blessing. And the funny thing there is, General Electric, it was Neutron Jack at the time, is like, everybody's like, you made it, kid. Like, you just put your 40 years in. That's one of the best companies in the world you can work in.
That would have been
so the programming, right, was just put your 40 years in. And
right.
And I had no entrepreneurs around me. I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs. I mean, that was not a thing when I was growing up. It was like, you went to school and you either got into the trades, auto mechanic or something, or you got into business, doctor, lawyer, but it wasn't like today. I mean, the scary thing about today is kids have a million choices and it's just sensory overload, right? So I went down that path for a bit, for about 10 years with GE, and got married, had a daughter, just beautiful little life going. And it's funny, when I do presentations, I call it the train wreck of 1998. I'm like, does anybody remember the train wreck of that was my life? Within a 3-month period, GE closed, which is the only thing I knew. I had one source of income.
What part of GE were you in?
So this was the Fitchburg plant of power generation. We worked on nuclear steam turbines for power gen and submarines. So we were the company didn't go under, but our little piece, they just absorbed it and put it to the bigger plants.
Yeah, sold to private equity.
So then my wife left too in the same period of time. So in that short period of time, I pretty much lost all the major things that somebody has, and ended up on my buddy's couch. And I've always had that it is what it is kind of attitude, which back then the people used to say, that's kind of cold. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, there's only two ways to go. You and I were talking about that before, right? It's either fear-based or positive-based.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, I was blessed to have, kind of that spark, and picked up the pieces and started to build my life again in engineering. And I got into architecture, construction, got remarried, built up. And it wasn't until about age 42 when I met Bob. And that was a fork in the road. That's a pivotal experience. I'm sure you have some mentors, some people you met where just everything changed, right? Bob was that person for me. Yeah, but I met him with 10,000 other people in Vegas at a entrepreneurs summit. I was just in the audience with 10,000 people. I had my construction company. I was actually in an energy-based network marketing company at the time. We were doing utility bills and stuff. So I saw him in the audience.
Who with? I know that space pretty well.
The North. Yeah, it was a company called Viridian Energy.
Okay.
Do you know them or?
Well, I know the space.
Yeah, because North American Power was one.
Yeah, I own I have an investment in a energy trading distribution firm.
Okay.
That goes straight to the consumers.
Oh wow! So yeah,
unbelievable business.
It's a great.
It's not
business.
A broker business.
Yeah.
We turned it into. I think EDF is their sponsor.
Okay.
They make $75 million a year, man, net.
Yeah, it's a major industry.
Net income. Like it's basically a super-sized call center.
Wow.
Exploiting not exploiting in a bad way, but really exploiting the utility reformation that was made in that period. So.
Yeah, the space is absolutely amazing.
So you're at Proctor's show. What before you go into that, what drove you to the Proctor's show? Like, if you're 42, you've changed everything in your life. What were you seeking that you would go to a show like that? So
it wasn't just his show. It was a 3-day event in Vegas. Tony Robbins was there, Richard Branson. I mean, there was like 20 or 30 speakers. I didn't know Bob.
Yeah.
Not from anybody. I went for the Entrepreneurs Conference. It's kind of like, you know, what some of you guys are putting on now, right? It's multiple speakers.
You were trying to improve yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the second day, this white-haired guy comes out, and he's just different than anybody. And no ego on this man. Like, not that everybody else had. I'm just saying he's all business. He just wants to help people and teach. And he started teaching on the metaphysics and the mind-body connection. He drew this mind map of conscious, subconscious, and body. And he said, when you grow up and you're born, all these programs go into your subconscious. You can't control it. And then most people never change those programs. What we teach is how to mentally build new programs in the subconscious. And it went off like a light bulb. I mean, like 40 years of like things came to me in one shot. It just made so much sense so quick. And that's what drew me to him, and I started following him and studying with him. And right from the audience, I elbowed my buddy. I said, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm going to be working with him and teaching this content. Why isn't this taught in schools?
Interesting.
Yeah. And then 12 months
you
later.
knew immediately, huh?
Yep. No, I didn't know him from. It'd be like, you just don't know anybody at all, and saying, hey, I'm going to work with this dude. You know, he didn't know me. There's like no common people, you know. And a series of events that we call attraction and manifestation led to.
Traction manifestation?
Yep.
I've not heard that term before.
We ended up in Toronto at a week-long event with him and got close to him and started working with him, and then we learned to start teaching the content that he teaches, and that part was just a sort of a side business for me, but we pushed forward, and now it's what we do full-time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you exited out of all that other business?
Yeah, I had a construction company at the time and a couple other things going. I was in Massachusetts. I had a lot of roots up there. And when I started working with Bob that first year, I was able to scale the construction from $1 million to almost $10 million in 12 months. So this is long before your brother was running around going 10x.
Yeah.
Like that was a 10x.
Yeah.
Almost, we got to like 8.5 million. But still, that's 800.
Loser,
right?
Please.
But you think about it, this is why most people don't set big goals, because we're conditioned.
That's right.
If you don't hit the goal, you failed. But visionaries, they set goals that even if they hit 30% of it, it's an order of magnitude more than the masses are thinking. It's a whole twisted thing about goals. Goals are meant to make you grow and stretch and become, right? And whether you hit the goal is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but it's not the most important thing. It's the person you become in the journey. So Elon Musk is bringing us to Mars, right?
If you hit every goal, you're undersizing your goals.
1,000,000%.
Right.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
I mean, the Babe Ruth story I always find amazing. You know, what do people know Babe Ruth for, right? Home run hitter. Dude, he struck out more than anyone else in the history of baseball. He was a freaking speed freak addict, a drunk. Like, he was a flawed human being, right?
Absolutely.
But he could monster the ball.
Yeah.
And he manifested the trajectory and angle of that
Absolutely.
bloody ball.
You're 100% correct. The people don't understand the power of visualization.
Yeah.
The top sports teams do it, boxers, CEOs. I'm sure you do it. This didn't come from nowhere. You saw this somehow. I don't know your background, but there's no way you're here and didn't visualize success, and you weren't thinking about how it wouldn't work. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, well, I figured out how it would work because I did like it when I first saw it. But you know, it's interesting you say that because I went through a pretty horrendous divorce, and it involved.
I got 3 of those.
Me too, man. I don't have 3 horrendous ones. I only have one.
No, yeah. Mine were
At least I did. Only 33% on picking that one. But you know, you include $500 million business and a bunch of assets. It gets really complicated. Egos, you know. Anyway, my kids, I've always had really big places. I like big. I'm a tiny little guy that loves a lot of space. And I've always known that about myself, and I do not make myself wrong over it. It's not. I'm not.
You own it. Yeah.
I'm not trying to like be a bigger person. I like a lot of space. I walk around here all the time, and the kids were like, you know, you don't have to have everything so big, jets and this, and they were getting that from the other side.
Yeah.
He's over the top, and I looked at my kids and said, you know, I've lived on the water since I was 9 years old. You guys got to knock this shit off right now. My dad bought a premier property 2 years before he died. It looked very similar to this. Dude, I've never lived in a house except one time in my whole life that was not directly on the water. It does something for me.
Oh, absolutely. It's energy.
Well, for me, but it was the memory
science.
of my dad, right?
Yeah,
it was
that makes
like,
sense.
That's interesting. The visualization, you said, hey, I visualized?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been in the memory since 7, 8 years old.
Makes sense, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, we found a commonality there, the three divorces.
I think we have more in common than just the three
More than
divorces,
likely,
but,
yeah. So again, all of that was before I met Bob and before I understood some basic principles. These are universal laws. They're not man-made laws. They're talking about like transmutation of energy, cause and effect, the law of rhythms, and there's things like magnetism and gravity and electricity that people don't understand either. There's universal laws that we're not taught, but they're affecting our lives. Right? Human beings are batteries. We're electromagnetic beings. And it just goes right into the physics. So the brilliance of Bob is he studied quantum mechanics, metaphysics, science, theology, religion. I mean, from every angle that you could study human success. And he's able to boil it down to like a 5th grade level. And that was the brilliance of what he did. He connected a Harvard level subject to the masses, and that's what he taught me to do. And I've just been a really good student and applying it. And the same thing he was. This isn't my information. It's all here.
yeah.
He's just been a really good gatherer. So he studied for every single day for 63 years. Just obsessed, healthy obsession with human performance and success.
So what do you think drove him? I mean, it seems like you were pretty close to him, right?
Yeah, I mean, what drove him is he almost, I say a healthy obsession. It was actually unhealthy at one point. When he met a mentor, and he was a drunk, by the way. I mean, he got 2 months in high school, I think, or second year of high school, kicked out, went into the Navy early at 17, almost got bounced out of there. He had like attitude problems. He didn't like orders. He didn't like constraints. And he grew, and his parents were in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Got out of there, and he had like, I think he said 18 bartending jobs in 12 months. He was like not well, but he had a family friend who was rich. He had a positive mental attitude. And he always had a wad of cash. He was always happy and always had like everything was balanced out. And that man suggested, Bob, is like, I can help you. You have everything you need. You just haven't been given the material. And he handed him the book, Think and Grow Rich. You familiar with that book?
Yeah, yeah.
That book has changed.
One of the great books in the world.
One of the great books, yeah. Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
So he said, if you do what's in this book, and if you do what I tell you, you can have anything you want. I said, what do you want? And again, this is the 60s.
I don't know.
Well, he's like 25 grand.
Yeah.
He didn't believe.
Take a shot of vodka and a girl.
Exactly. So he spouts out 25 grand, which would have probably been like $500,000 today, right? It was a big number back then. And he's like, I can show you how to do that. If you just shut up and listen to me and just do what I tell you and just, you don't have to believe it, just surrender to it.
Yeah.
And the long story short there, but he taught him the principle of autosuggestion. Even if it's a lie, if you repeat it to yourself with emotion enough, your subconscious will buy off on it and it will cause the body to take action. This is how a baby becomes a terrorist and how a baby becomes a philanthropist. It's whatever's programmed in will take over time. So that principle is what he learned. But when he was working with this guy, he started cleaning floors, started a business. He was a firefighter at the time, so he made it there. And he grew that business so rapidly. He started himself, and there was office buildings. Then he had a team of other firefighters. And then he went from Toronto to Boston to Atlanta to LA and overseas to England. Multiple millions. So between age 26 to 31. Big quantum leap from this information. And he was just pissing the money away, having a good time. He's at the Playboy Club over in London. And he was on a bar one time, and he's looking around. He said, boy, everybody in here seems to be like losers. He's just looking, it's like dreary, and he's drinking, and he's like, wait a minute, I'm in here too.
Yeah.
He's loaded, but what was he doing,
Yeah.
And he had an epiphany, and he it's called a paradigm shift when you have that like epiphany like that.
Right.
He's like, how did I actually get it? What happened? And he was studying Earl Nightingale. I don't know if you know anything from Earl, The Strangest Secret. It's a similar thing. So the lineage of this
There was
history.
a whole group of people at that time. It was almost like what happened. I mean, I think this is really interesting about the universe, right? It's always stunned me how much, I spent 14 years in London, how much great music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s came from a tiny little island. Like the artistic piece of London, they have more artistic production than they do energy or food. They don't produce anything. But during this period, I mean, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, dude, so many people, like the music that you grew up with, when you look at it, go, wow, London, 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 New York, London, 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 Liverpool. I mean, it just, and I think that it looked like during the Proctor, Tony, what's his name?
Tony Robbins. So there's a whole group of
He was almost later stage.
Tony's
Like,
later than that. This is early stage. Yeah, Earl Nightingale's Bob was in that.
Og Mandino. That whole, I think he was. To me, that's the best book on the planet.
Absolutely. So it's the same
Especially
lineage.
for a salesman that can be a little grimy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The greatest salesman in the world to me was, it literally turned me into not being a salesman. And being a smart human being, a good businessman. But I've never sold. People go, "You're a salesman." I think they confuse me with Grant. But I'm like, no, I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I've never been in sales. Not really.
Yeah.
Trading, taking risks, speculating.
Yeah.
And I just thought that book was so beautiful because it ripped apart anything. Sorry to take it, but
no, this is a great thread, honestly, to go down. Yeah, people have a weird concept of what sales is.
Totally. I mean, for me, that book was a really spiritual thing about what am I doing, selling, communicating with another human being. It really, I've read it twice. I could literally easily read it again.
Yeah.
I mean, you could read it all the time, really. But I recommend both those books.
Absolutely.
Nightingale was brilliant. It's just amazing how many of those people came together, and it kind of reminds me this may be happening again right now.
It seems to be. It seems, and that's part of, I think we're part of that next generation because we're carrying the torch of what Bob did. And you're right, there was a whole group of people before Tony. A lot of people now know Tony because of, the generations and stuff, but before that, it was the Jim Rohns, the Og Mandinos, the Earl Nightingale was in that era, and Bob was working with Earl Nightingale. When Bob wanted to figure out what happened, he left everything. I mean, he was making multiple millions back when that was a lot of money. And he left everything, and he went to work for Earl Nightingale for $18,000 a year. Because Nightingale Conant were the people he was listening to. And he's like, I just want to go study what this man knows. And Earl has a brilliant history. But the lineage actually goes back to Andrew Carnegie, the world's first recorded billionaire. He did not want to go to his grave with the understanding that he had. He actually wanted to get this understanding to the masses, these principles. Henry Ford did not want this getting out.
That's right.
So that group of people is the lineage of from there to Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, to Earl Nightingale, who mentored Bob Proctor, who mentored me. So that's the lineage of the science of achievement, the science of success. So it's not all beating your chest and making you feel good. It's metaphysics. There's literal science behind how the world's most successful people think and act and operate. So I know why Bob got obsessed, because I'm obsessed. I met him. He changed everything in a short period of time, went from here to here, and I'm like, my God, I just want to help people learn this. And then I went all in on it, and I liquidated my other businesses and just really went in with Bob. I was helping him coach all over the world with coaching other coaches before he passed. So, and this is what I'm going to do. This is like, I understand, like till my dying day, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what Bob did.
And so what do you think your driver is then? Like what made you, I mean, I have a thesis of why you would burn the other bridges, the other businesses, but
originally it was fun. I was selfish the first 40 years. I was engineer, architect, left brain, wanted to be a multimillionaire, very much driven by money. And for me and my circle, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing, it just is. We grew up American broke, so I did not want to repeat that lineage and stuff. And then when I met Bob and we scaled my company so quickly, I had the same transition he did, I think. Because at first, he just money, and he made multiple millions, but then he's like, wait a minute, like what I learned, why isn't this taught in school? So I feel like I had the same epiphany transition that he did.
You mean a desire to help?
Desire to help people. Turn the lights on for the masses. This is not complicated information. It's just not taught in school. If you think about school, and then the conscious faculties that we have, what we're really taught all the way through Harvard too is memory, which is fine, but it's not thinking. It's not the reasoning factor. We're not really taught to think. You memorize a little math, English, history, science, you pass tests. So all through these 16, some people, longer years of school, they're working on the memory, the memorization. Elon Musk is talking about teaching thinking in grade school, even preschool. The reasoning factor, tapping into source, collaboration, masterminding, right?
Well, I was going to stop you a little bit earlier, but since you went into, hey, it's these things, masterminding and what have you, what is thinking?
Thinking it's called the reasoning factor. It's your ability to tap into infinite source, and this is where people lose it a little bit. But there's something that grows an acorn into an oak tree, and it's not a human being. There's an infinite intelligence. There's no new information. The Wright brothers didn't create flight. They became aware of a principle that's existed since the beginning of time. So whatever somebody believes in,
at least since birds.
At least since birds.
Yeah.
Right? At least since physical creation. So whatever anybody believes in, there's an infinite storehouse of information that we become aware of. So thinking is your natural God-given ability to tap into that. Right? You can be alone and think of a new idea. If you calm your mind, maybe play some music and start to think about what's a better way to do this? Like, what's a better way to do this? What's a better way to travel? There's a fraction of 1% of people on the planet creating everything for everybody. Right? You guys are you're in that realm. You're thinkers. But when we understand what it is,
I'm going to challenge this a little bit.
Sure, no, I welcome
for me,
it. Yeah.
I don't really think of it that way. I think of thinking as what you and I are doing right now. Like you mentioned something. Like one thing I think I'm pretty decent at is communicating, but I'm a really good listener. Like to me, the communication is, hey, it ain't just talking, right?
No, listening is.
But you're bringing
something
up
I'm working on is listening
really
more.
profound. You're talking about visualizations. Well, is that thinking? I would say
that's your
not.
imagination. So we have 6 conscious faculties, right? Most people understand sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, and they're programmed to live from the outside in. What we teach is your conscious faculties, which is imagination, intuition, memory, the reasoning factor, and perception, and willpower. So people understand very, very little about these things. So right now, when you think we're thinking, we're not. We're accessing mental program. I'm not thinking at all right now, right? Mental activity does not constitute thinking. Not to say that it's good or bad, but we're not trying to solve a problem we don't know. So the reasoning...
Oh, I am. I'm absolutely thinking right now.
Okay.
Like, absolutely. This is, if you leave...
It's causing new ideas?
Well, oh, totally. Well...
Then you are thinking.
It's triggering branches off. Like when you said, hey, look, it's thinking or doing, I'm like, is it? Is it all thinking? Because if you leave here and all this noise leaves here, I find that real thinking, which is no push of any kind of, thinking for me, 2 + 2, I need to write a story, blah, okay, cool, I'm thinking, what's the story going to be about? But if I can't even write a story because I'm conflicted on writing a book, I need to go into a space where I'm like, hey, I need to understand why this book thing is a fucking problem for me, and then let it go. Let it go into the universe, and I think it's me sending a signal out to the universe.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
It's not really thinking, though, for me. It's actually me sending an energy bomb out to the world going, hey, look, I'm perplexed on this book thing. I have a lot of content. I don't want to do this. I don't want people to know me. I don't want to be famous. Well, there's all kind of stuff going on, but to me, the manifesting is not thinking. The manifesting is trusting.
You hit it right on the head, and it's if you get into like quantum physics, which is study people like Dr. Bruce Lipton or even Joe Dispenza's in that field, Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's consciousness that moves energy into form. It was thought way back when that you had energy and matter, the 2 building blocks. That's not the case at all. It's energy. Both. And matter is energy in a different form.
Totally.
So when you talk about putting an energy bomb out, you're right. Your consciousness manipulates raw energy into form. The phone, my iPhone used to be thought energy. So you don't know how right you are when you said putting an energy bomb out. But now how do we get that information to the masses? How do you convey that message to somebody in grade school? That's what we're experts at, is like taking, like I said, a Harvard level. So you're what we call an unconscious competence. It means you do things in a certain way, but you might not be able to explain it, like I said, at a 5th grade level. So we go to our graves without serving the masses. But you don't know how spot on you are when you said that. It's consciousness.
Yeah, no, I think I actually do.
Yeah.
No, that's
that's awesome.
I've read all these books.
Okay, good.
I've read thousands of books. I don't know anybody that's gotten anywhere without reading a lot and being open to stuff you don't know. Like for me, that's the big thing is the thinking. Like you mentioned gravity earlier. There is literally no definition that any scientist on this freaking planet can give you on gravity.
And
now,
theories.
3 months ago, we find out no one's talking about it. Hey, the Big Bang Theory that we've all built all science on, we think that was wrong. and they're not even changing the books. So like these
You're talking my language,
thinking, I'm not even convinced 2 + 2 is 4, dude. I'm not sure.
I'm with you on that one.
1,000%. I mean, I didn't make the
You
word
have to
4
question
up.
everything.
Oh, totally. Like I know I should not be sitting here in this home with my education, my background. No chance, dude. There's no formula that would suggest that a guy like me, much less two of us coming from the same house, that's weird, man. Took totally different directions. Now, nobody knows me, but I was much wealthier than Grant, like for years and years and years. And he just kept kept pounding away at a world I would never have had any interest in. I would have failed there.
Yeah.
It was not the right spot for me. It would have been like putting on a big, thick sock for me.
Yeah.
I would not have done well in that space. And that's what I'm trying to get to, is because I think like people have to find the right frequency.
Yes.
And if you get into the wrong frequency, what I call a platform, and Proctor did he not like all authority or just weak authority? Bullshit authority, made up rules authority.
People that didn't have the results he wanted.
Yeah.
He completely surrendered to Earl Nightingale to the tune of like, pay me nothing, I don't care, I just want to be around you. You hit it right on the head. He was taking instruction from people that didn't have the results he wanted. He said, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
That's not a thinking person.
Yeah.
So when you get mentored, read a book, like make
That's a
sure.
robot. Robotic
exactly.
movement. Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault. That's the one big thing is to understand that it's just generational and societal ignorance. It's not my parents' fault. It's not it's because they didn't have it goes back and back and back. Nobody's breaking the chains, In the school systems, like I said, I'm not here to bash on the school systems, but
Well,
evidence.
we need to because there's zero input on understanding your mind is, at least until very recently, probably the most, awesome organism ever. We used 1%, 3%, 4% of it. Like, I just want to tap in. Like, if I can be this good with 2%, dude, what if I could grab another 0.1?
Exactly.
It's
even
quantum.
Even a fraction, it's quantum, yeah.
It's like my dogs know when I'm coming home.
Yeah.
I don't know when they're coming home. I feel stupid around my dogs, right?
But I love the way you think, because if they can do it, like human beings, we got to be able to enhance it. So that's intuition, right? Dogs have instinct, and we do too. It's
perception, sensory.
Perception,
like,
yes.
I can feel when I'm around a bad guy, dude.
Yes.
Like, that's why I do these.
Yeah.
I don't do these phone calls and pitch deals. I want
face to face.
I need to feel your energy. I don't care about the watch. I don't care about the shit. I don't care about, like, what's the energy,
Yeah.
And I know when I'm around bad energy.
Yeah.
And every time I deny it, and this was what the marriages were. The marriages were because I compromised.
We get clouded, bro.
Huh?
We get clouded.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally. Like,
that's a whole nother interview.
Well, it's very interesting. Every deep spiritual journey I've taken, which I've probably taken 6 or 7 across 60 years, almost every 8 to 10 years. Every time there's a woman involved, my discovery is suppressed. I'm not blaming them.
No,
I am not just by myself to really go in and then go out. I'm now having to modulate another entity.
Yeah.
Every time, man.
So we would call that an environmental stimulus. So when we teach about environment, the core of what a human being is whether consciousness, spirit, whatever you believe, but it's energy, it's consciousness.
Yeah.
And then the first realm of environment is actually your paradigm, your belief system. Right? You have thousands or hundreds of thousands of programs, mental programs that make you, right? And then our body, right? So we're not our body. We're expressing through our body.
For sure.
But we're not taught any of that stuff in school, so we're always living in a reactive state to grade school, getting picked, whatever it is, right? And the whole world's living from the outside in instead of understanding that inside out, and it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what drove Bob, and that's what drives me, getting the long-winded answer, but what drove him is that, like, this has to change, and I need to do something about it. It's basic information. It's not, we teach right from a program that's $39 a month called Mindset Masters. I want millions of people on. That's why it's such a low point. And we teach live. Like, I don't even care. I just want to get that out there. And of course, we teach all the way into C-suites and corporate. But my mission is to carry that torch and to really get this. I'm 53 years old. I'm going to live to be at least 100, so another 50 years or so. And I think that's why Bob did what he did, and that's what I do because I want to make a difference.
How many brilliant people have you met in your life, whether they were school brilliant or just like
Almost
magicians?
none of them are school brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Some, but
kind
not.
of funny, isn't it?
The wealthiest people I personally know.
Not wealthy, just the geniuses, like people you're like, whoa, man, this cat had something really special, whether he turned it into money or not. Like I could make a $2 billion.
Yeah.
I don't care, dude.
Yeah, there's a certain point where it's
Like,
just.
if you're going to judge me, oh wow, you got $2 billion
Yeah.
instead of 300 million, 400. I mean, when does it stop?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, who cares?
Yeah. For me, it's just a handful. And one of the genius people I know is fairly broke. Just never connected the dots in that manner. But he's genius level. His IQ's off the charts, so he can look at something. And he's retired now, but he was a principal engineer. He always worked for other people, made a whole bunch of people rich, made the government rich. He was part of the team that took the laser guidance system from being this big, massive thing that needed a Humvee on top, all the way down to a pistol that a guy could walk in and paint a target for the Patriot missiles.
Wow.
Like he's just genius.
Yeah.
And he just sees things, almost like Good Will Hunting, right? The way he played, he saw math and stuff like that.
Bit of a broken man?
No, he's actually married to my mom. I mean, just never monetized. He didn't have that driving, sales, monetization. Just didn't have that gene. And I was too young. Had I known him now when he was in his prime, we would have went on to probably, conquer the world together. But he's genius. Bob is one, but he was not born that way. He turned himself. He read over 5,000 books. And every day studying, up at 5, studying, getting with people.
Did he come
learning.
from a broken family?
Bob did, yeah.
See, I have this theory, man. Name me somebody that came from a healthy family that's monsterly successful and has done something
I see where you're going.
really, really powerful. I think every one
rare.
of these guys are seriously wounded. I think Nightingale had a drinking problem at one time.
He did. He's in Pearl Harbor. I mean, he got bombed, bro. He survived Pearl Harbor. Like he had, the lineage. I don't know Andrew Carnegie's upbringing in history. He's the one I don't know. Napoleon Hill was broken, went through living hell while he was creating. He's studying for.
Nikola Tesla did. He could not understand the money piece. He got raped and probably by Ford and Edison. Probably naive.
Sure. Yeah.
People that are interested in helping people, sometimes they're very
picked
naive.
apart. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's very strong over here, but they don't have. That's why it's important to have a good team.
Yeah, exactly. I have a two-man theory. You don't build a big business without two people. I really, 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 really believe that.
I don't know anybody who has.
I don't want to do it by myself.
That's the other part, right?
And I'm not sufficient enough to build a multi-billion-dollar business by myself. I need someone that has almost opposite skills that I have. And
Absolutely.
we acknowledge each other and we stay out of each other's box.
Yeah. That's.
Dude, you get to vote on all the details. I get to vote on all the commercials and the visioning and how what we're doing, where we're spanking the money.
Yeah.
But please keep some risk management around me.
No, that makes 100%. You look at Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. You're describing exactly, right?
Totally.
And even Bob. So Bob was studying and doing all these things and getting out there. I mean, he was hustling, just getting in front of anybody he could, for like 40 years before he really became what people know as Bob. From 30 to age 70, before he got on the movie The Secret. I don't know if you saw that movie. It was
the book?
They turned it into a book, I believe, yeah.
It was a book first, right?
I don't think so. No, Rhonda Burns, they brought I think Og Mandino was in it too.
Maybe I'll have to read that. Maybe I'm confusing it with another, like The Notebook or something, one of these love stories. Sorry.
Possibly, no worries.
It's called, what's it called?
It was a movie called The Secret. Now, there's another Hollywood version now, but this was back in 2006 or something, I think. I forget when it got released. Actually, no, it was way before that. But he had been doing this for like 40 years. And he was like 70 years old when he got on The Secret. So it was really from age 70 to 87 that they built a $100 million a year industry. They were in every country in the world by the time he got done. It's because he also attracted a young woman by the name of Sandy Gallagher, who was a business genius. She had done over $100 billion in mergers and acquisitions. She was a banking attorney, top of her class. So Bob was this guy, the visionary, the knowledge, this mad scientist, right?
Detail organizer around.
And then she was a student in one of his things. She said, why isn't this information in corporate?
Right.
And then they ended up getting together. They created a program called Thinking and Results for Corporate, and they went to the moon. So a combination of two things, but the two-man there, why would you want to do it alone is the other thing, right?
Jack wanted to do it alone.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, you know. You worked at General Electric. You were like, man, this is my dream job. More people will know Bob Proctor from the age of 70 to 86 than anyone will know Jack Welch.
Jack Welch,
I have been in rooms with Jack Welch. I think he destroyed General Electric.
The evidence
Absolutely
would say
destroyed it, and he was a one-man pony. He was literally had the entire board wrapped around his finger. No one would push against this celebrity.
See, that's usually a narcissist.
General Electric is a totally
they're not even owned. They're owned by offshore. Most of
it.
their I know.
It's like it is such. They should have gone down with Enron because they were absolutely as criminal as Enron did. As criminal as Enron, marking the books up.
Yeah.
And here we are. But that's a one-man. Like, show me any great business that doesn't have two guys. Now, Elon is an example of, oof, dude, he's...
For now, I don't know how long...
He's done pretty well.
He's done amazingly well.
I
don't know where it's going to go. Have you met him?
No.
I've not met him. I'd love to interview.
I've been on Spaces with him a couple of times. It's funny how he does his interviews, dude. He sets them all up in one day and just smashes them out in one day.
Yeah, he's a super efficient guy.
I hope he lives through this. I mean,
Me too.
I would not want to be him.
Me either. Not at all. Not at all.
But I wouldn't want to be Nikola Tesla either. And, you know, those stories, their lives are really common. But I'm trying to get back to this wound. I have a theory that all greatness is really pushed out. Like, the only reason someone would want to, hey, let me get this information out to the world from their heart, especially at 70, because he probably wasn't worried about making hundreds of millions of dollars.
No,
it
not at all.
has to be, hey, I want to fix something.
Yep.
And
that's exactly what it
all
was.
these guys come from wounded families, man. I did.
Yeah.
You know, not rape and all that stuff, but still
No,
wounds.
still, like I said, like it's probably similar, like American broke, right? Like there's struggles everywhere, money,
Just
like
low
divorce,
middle class, confused,
confused,
not clear on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like spending 4 years in college and throwing dice down on a table and going, well, I guess I'll go in the oil and gas business.
Yeah.
Zero focus, zero, you know, when I could have spent 4 years like developing myself, my entity, you know, my beingness. I mean,
but why would you? We're not exposed to it. It's not part of the system, right?
Yeah. It's not
that's what I would love. That's what I'm working on changing.
Stick it in the school system?
I don't know if the governments would ever allow that to happen, but so much education now is happening outside the school system. And I have a vision of pulling together like the world's top billionaires to really make change there. You know, they have charter schools and stuff. There are some things happening, and you can do online schools. You have to get to the parents. You have to break the cycle. But the governments are not going to allow this to happen. The public schools are controlled by the government. So there's got to be another way, a better way. I don't know what it is, but I think it's collaboration with people that actually give a shit.
It has to be done from the outside.
Yeah.
You're going to just have to, a bunch of rich people put their kids into the system, into a guinea pig system, and go, hey, we're willing to try this because we don't think we can mess it up any worse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Stats are horrible.
And it's funny you mention that too, because like it's hard to find. It happens, but it's more rare. Like somebody's born into a multi-billionaire family, it's more rare for them to go on their own and create at a high level. Part of it is because human beings actually crave contrast. You can't know joy if you haven't known sorrow. If you just had constant bliss on tap, you'd go insane the same way a depressed person does. We're born craving contrast and experience. So you and I grew up, we had a lot of lower experiences. So you crave the opposite, the polar opposite of that. It's actually a law of polarity, right?
Yeah.
Positive and negative. And when I say positive and negative, it's not good and bad. It's positive and negative. But you only appreciate this because you've been in the other side of it. So when you see a celebrity has a child and then the child they're spinning around, then they get into drugs and they go down the toilet, it's because they crave contrast. And it's not their fault. It's just it's human essence, right? And it's just rare that you see somebody succeed and go past what their parents did in that. It happens, but it's rare.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I like Donald Trump.
Yes.
People, he was given $1 million by his dad. And I'm like, well, everybody I know that was given millions of dollars by the dad, they turned into crackheads.
Yep.
And he does not appear to be a crackhead.
No.
Okay, I would not want to debate with the guy. I mean, I would debate him.
Yeah.
But he seems to be sharp as a tack, man. I'm impressed with his kids. His kids look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Give me a family that gave somebody a bunch of money that actually ended up that way. I don't
rare.
think, it's very common.
And I've never interviewed or met Donald in person, and people love him or hate him, whatever. There's some things he might want to do better for his image, but I mean, there's sheer brilliance in running businesses, and the country's a business. So I don't care about all the side stuff that politicians get into. But you run the country like a business. That's what it needs to happen, right? You need to.
It's the biggest organism on the planet, generating the most GDP.
Yep.
Why would you want an administrator? You need what Jack Welch was supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah.
What the book said he was. That is exactly what you need.
Back in the day, I voted for Ross Perot because he was a self-made billionaire. And I'm just sick of I was sick of what traditional politicians do, right? But
you got to be nauseated at this point.
Yeah. It's scary, actually.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's really scary. So, but what can I do? I can either become a politician, which I'm not going to do, or I can do what I'm going to do, right? So I don't really spend much time in politics because unless I'm going to do something about it, it's not worth me spending a lot of time in it, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
But what I can do is this path. We can educate from the outside in. We can make programs that everybody has access to. We can translate it in all the languages, and we can go global. Just like before Bob passed, he had a presence in every single country in the world.
So
super impressive.
Do you do this through web marketing, or do you
most
do
of what
physical,
we do?
big
some
shows?
Physical. As far as teaching goes, we do a lot of one-to-many Zoom type stuff. I do corporations in person, but you can't hit the masses it's hard in person, right?
Yeah.
So, and most of what we do is more entrepreneurs, early level entrepreneurs. I work with some companies, but that's not my driving thing. That just pays the bills, But we have Zoom. We have everybody's got a phone, webcams. Even the brokest countries, everybody seems to have a smartphone, right?
Yep.
So I think it has to be, webinar-based, Zoom-based, one-to-many, and then they need curriculum. They need actionable items that they do, and then you come back and you speak about it, and you laser coach, and you ponder and think. And
what's the laser coach?
Honing in on one person.
Got it.
You can have 100 people, but if one person has a challenge, they've all had some version.
Totally.
And then you literally just coach with that person and get them to understand the universal laws that are in conflict. That's usually what it is. And Bob was so brilliant at packaging this stuff. There's not a problem somebody that can have that I can't point to one of the lessons that we teach and say, this is where it's coming from. This is why, and here's some things you can do. And it's not my information. That's why I can brag about it so much. He's done such a good job. And we have our own programs too. I've compounded and added my own flavor and stuff, but I still teach his main program that he spent. He was studying for 50 years before he created that program.
Yeah. He was a master of the mind.
He's like hanging out with Yoda, bro.
Yeah.
You want to talk about energy? That guy came into a room, you could feel it. You could literally feel it.
Yeah, see, I believe in that.
Same.
Now, why would you feel his energy versus, the first time you met the guy, you picked him out of all of those guys that were...
And some big names.
Yeah,
Richard Branson, some of these people...
Totally.
Some of them I just forgot, but there was about 20.
Yeah.
Bob was by no means the wealthiest guy in the room, but he was by far the most intelligent about understanding the mind-body connection,
Yeah, now, without getting, I don't want to get controversial about that particular society, but it's a group of people, right? Were there any people being parasitic to Proctor? And like the NLP, you used some words about Proctor, and I said, oh, that sounds like neuro-linguistic.
NLP, yeah.
Yeah, NLP, right? Tony's deal. That made Tony, right? Really.
Absolutely. He's a big proponent of NLP.
Yeah. But isn't it all the same? He put a fancy
different
name
lenses. The thing about Tony, I've seen a lot of Tony's. I've been to a lot of his stuff. He's absolutely amazing. The only challenge, and he'll even tell you this, I don't know if he knows, he's not teaching at the core of what a paradigm is, how it got there, and how to change it. So what he's teaching, you get revved up as hell over 3 days. You go home and do not much, unless somebody's an unconscious competent because...
So it's a dopamine overload, right?
Very much so. Yeah. But he'll even tell you, I'm not your guru. He'll say it right in the audience. Most of you are going to go home and not follow this advice. But he's not showing them how to get it from the conscious into the subconscious. And that's what separated Bob from any other thought leaders I've ever met. We teach how to get a thought from the conscious into the subconscious. And the body won't move unless it's in the subconscious, right? I'm speaking English because it's a subconscious program. It's embedded, right? The subconscious is about 1 million times more powerful at storing programs. This is why everybody's going to the gym now for a couple of weeks, New Year's, right? Because it's a conscious thought. Oh, I had to do this. And they'll do it, but then their paradigm kicks in and they don't have the mental program called I go to the gym. So we teach, I say we, Bob, we teach how to get a thought from the conscious into the subconscious, stored as a mental program. That's why our company's called The Matrix. Have you ever seen the movie when they download a program?
Yeah.
They're putting it into the subconscious. And that Tony doesn't do that. None of his trainings do anything about understanding how to take this valuable information and get it from here to here.
So he's just doing short circuit. You want to cement it right down.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Some people, you may be one of them, some people do get a thought and they just act on it and they can make a quick program, paradigm, but that's 1 in a million. It's so rare. But what about everybody else? Because Bob was what about the other people, right? So I learned through the same method. I took the same program, which is why I'm such a fan of it, because it showed me how to get something from here to here instead of just being a fleeting thought. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying this. So
Same.
If you're cool,
I'll go as long as you want. Yeah, whatever's.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about yourself and Proctor and having a bunch of different, that he kept changing his world. I've been now in 4 or 5 industries, and they're big ones, man. They're not like, I just interviewed my first boss, and he told me, he's like,
that must have been interesting.
It was awesome. Like, actually, you would enjoy it. He really taught me a lot. But I asked him things like, hey, when you were building, for instance, I knew I had to go work for this company. And explain these I know you've heard a lot of these stories. I'm driving into downtown Houston every day and back, living in my sister's, I'm 25, right? Living in my sister's house. And I pass this, every day, I pass this building on 290 West. And every day, man, that's a good looking building. Dude, like it pulling me, right?
Yeah.
Go home, same thing. Damn, that's a good looking, all glass, beautiful, nice oval. Probably 8 stories, not a super building, and it was out on the outskirts. I would go work for Natural Gas Clearinghouse, and I was going to take 0. I literally walked in, I was making $70 a year, which was a lot for 26 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like
back then.
$70,000 a year. But I'm like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I will die here. I am not a farmer. I need to go somewhere where I can't, I don't think this way. All the authority, the rules, you have to dress this way. I'm like, I have to dress? I mean,
what does that matter?
This isn't good enough for you?
Yeah.
I went to work, got a job at Natural Gas Clearinghouse. 3 days into the job, hey, by the way, we're moving. We're moving this weekend. Oh, really? Dude, where do you think we went to?
I was just going to say, I know where this is going to go.
I spent 8 years in that building. 8 years of my life I spent in that building. The moment they left, I left the company.
No kidding.
I have tons of stories like that.
Yeah.
It's so
a lot
amazing.
of people call that a coincidence, but it's not.
No,
it's
dude,
not.
I was being pulled, okay?
That's magnetism. It's manifestation.
Total energy. It's
Yeah.
total energy. So when you say, hey, I can feel someone's energy relative to someone else, I believe people are not built the same.
No,
No
we're
chance,
definitely
man.
no two people are built. We all have our own little superpowers.
Yeah.
And then it's up to
Most
us to
people just don't ever
discover.
find them.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Everybody has something, but the
I'm
other
gonna have
ones
to
we
read
can
that book
enhance.
again because I actually think that it's reversed, that I need my subconscious to overwhelm my conscious. You're saying basically it's embedded with so many programs that you go into a robotic.
Well,
you're not consciously making these decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, I got
you're not thinking about breathing either.
Yeah.
You don't think about building wealth anymore. You just do it. Warren Buffett doesn't wake up and think about building. He just does it.
I have never really thought about it. Have you? I have never
when I was
thought
younger,
about building a bunch of money.
When I was younger, yes.
Yeah,
when I was younger, yes. Yeah.
And Grant and I are very different this way.
And it's funny because when I was younger, I wasn't building it. I was thinking about because it was the wrong focus.
Yeah. See, I was having fun.
Yeah.
Every time I have fun, man, I'm good.
You win.
Every time I have a big enemy, that's my deal. See, there must be something in 7,000 years ago. I must have been brutalized by some super agency because Visa's out there. I can go beat them up. Good, dude, let's go get it. There's always that little bit of I want to push against an unfair situation. That's why I keep thinking this is a wound. right? It's a bit of a Robin Hood. I used to call myself when I was in England, hey, I'm the Robin Hood of energy.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And it just looked like that's what I was doing. You know, going against the big boys to help the small people.
Yeah.
You've had a fascinating life, man. I love the story about you talking about burning. You didn't say it this way, but you gave everything up.
Yeah. Literally.
Talk to the audience about the importance of not having baggage holding you back on a new mission.
Yeah, I mean, when you're growing and going through experiences, whether it's business, marriage, whatever that is, you can only get to a certain point with sort of that existing awareness, maybe the existing people. And when you get an idea to do something really big, there's a good chance some really important people around you might not be the people who are going to help you get there. It might even be a block. And we might love these people. It might be parents, siblings, it might be a spouse. And there's no blame, there's no fault. It just is, right? You start off together, but then sometimes one of the people will just want to really go here. And if this person's not on the same page, I've seen your brother rant about this. You got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Like some people ain't in the same book, you know. And it's true, especially in a marriage. And it's okay if you're not, and you go your separate ways, and that's fine. I think certain people come in our lives for a season, for reasons, and you harvest the good and forgive the rest. I have one of my ex-wives works with us full time as our onboarding coach, and it's seamless and fine and amazing. And she's my daughter's mom. And we harvested good and forgave the rest. But some people think that's crazy.
No.
It's not crazy. Like, matter of fact, why wouldn't it be this way?
That is a perfect relationship. Hey, it's no longer sexual. It doesn't mean we need to burn the entire
that was one of the
history down.
A million
Pisses me off
percent.
so
People
bad.
do
Why
that
you
all
that,
over the
dude?
place.
We had sex. We had good sex once, man. Let's remember that moment, right? And the time we were in Cabo, or okay, we grew apart.
Yeah, there's always good qualities, but unfortunately, and again, this goes back to the school system, we're not taught anything about relationships.
No, nothing.
We're not taught that it's actually okay if you have a failed marriage. We're taught that that's like the worst part. So that all the hatred, all the anger, all the negativity, most people that go through that, they can only see the negativity. They don't harvest the good. That's one of the phrases I love about Bob. Any situation, failed business, right? You harvest the good and forgive the rest. There's always lessons. But we're programmed from birth to look at the negative instead of the positive. So yeah, usually when I tell that story, like people are like, you did what? There was a while, years ago, that I had two of my ex-wives working with me full time. And one of them was in sales. She was a gangster in sales, and she just went on to another thing. There was no animosity. She just moved on. But there was one period in time I had two of my ex-wives working with us full time.
Yeah, well, I commend you for that.
Yep.
I think that's the way it should be. You know, the analogy I use where you were headed about, hey, is the guy that came with you going to make the journey all the way? You know, when these space rockets go up in space, as soon as they hit, zero atmosphere, what's the first thing they do?
Jettison.
Dude, totally. They jettison
It's a great analogy.
everything.
Yeah.
All the fuel,
Yeah.
up until recently, now we're recovering, but they would junk out, dude, the entire thing. That's like 1,000 people in a company going, we no longer need 800 of you. Bye, right?
Yeah.
And that means that
And then it goes on seamlessly, right? Easily and effortlessly.
Yeah,
well, that's a great analogy.
The foundation, you can't bring all that up there. It's too much friction, right? And then you blast through another point, and then you can start expanding on that foundation again. That's just pure science.
Yeah.
Right? And why would it be any different for you or I?
It's a great point. Great analogy.
All the great military campaigns that are written in history books are about people that went into situations, okay, we're going here, there's 60,000 soldiers and we're 6,000. And what would the general do? Burn the freaking bridges behind them.
There's many
Burn
stories.
them, man.
There's an actual story. I forget which it is, but they burned the boats, right?
But burn the boats.
Yeah.
Burn the boats.
Yeah,
burn the
they
bridges.
showed up and they
burned
were
everything.
and they ended up. I forget what that was. I have to
Go
look
for
that
it.
up.
You must go.
And
for
they
it.
won.
Totally. Well, there's a lot of stories like this.
Or even the movie 300. I don't know if you're a movie buff.
300's awesome movie.
That's one of my all-time favorites. Matter of fact, that's the image I have. I have a self-image board. Your brother's on there too. It's funny because how he is with persistence is a quality that I admire like greatly. Like that dude is just tenacious, you know.
He's a gangster, man. Total.
So I have Bob's on there. Your brother's on there. I got the guy from 300 on there, even though it's a character, but that inner warrior, like to 300 people, and it's like, there is no going back, you know? And they outsmarted them for a long time because they...
Well, they had to, man.
Right?
They didn't have anything else to do.
If we sit here, and all they can do is
physical
stack
force.
up. Nope. So...
Yeah, let go of things. It's been important for me because, like, I burned the whole Rolodex, man. Like I left the energy business after 22 years. I'm like, I'm done with. I was making $7 million a year, had tons of stock, and I'm like, I'm not having fun anymore, man. I have headaches all the time. That was my subconscious sending signals to me, going, hey, this is no longer our path, dude. We being like, I'm more than just one little, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a really hard statement to make, but I was no longer in alignment. And then I had all this information coming from the outside going, dude, you're 41 years old making $7 million a year from Lake Charles, Louisiana. You do not leave an energy company where you are like one
I was
going to
say almost nobody does that. I don't know what it was that caused that paradigm shift, but I give you so much credit because 1 in a million people would leave that. And it's probably like that kind of a number.
Yeah, it's more like 1 in 100 million.
Yeah.
All my buddies, they got locked up, dude. As soon as I sold everything, they couldn't get out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's so a shame, right? People forget, though, there's a time to get off that rocket.
Yeah.
And like my skills, well, one, I knew the market was getting ready to get completely evaporated. And two, I just listened to myself and went, you know,
trust that intuition.
I knew a man who ran British Gas at the time. He was about 52 years old, came from the steel industry, took six or 7 years off sailing around the world. At 44, shows up to back into England, gets the premier job, man.
Yeah.
It was either that or the prime minister's job. I'm like, you took off 6 years and went sailing, dude? You know what he was doing? Thinking,
yeah.
and being, looking around, observing. How big is this universe? Hey, shit, I can be the CEO of British Gas. And when I saw him do that, see, I only need one example.
Is that what it was?
Well, I looked at him and went, nobody ever told me that was a successful career. That looks like a freaking successful career instead of these guys sitting here for 35 years, man.
Yeah.
Working in this job. I am now the senior vice president I am now the senior vice president. I am now, you know, and they're on the 401k. They don't look happy.
Yeah.
They all wear the same clothes. It gets really gray.
Yeah.
Notice how gray it gets?
Yeah.
The further you go up.
Yes.
And like, I just thought it was really cool. I'm like, dude, I can always create another career.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And I didn't really make that much. I mean, I didn't slave hundreds of millions of dollars away, but I believed that it would be worse for me working for money and being unhappy than being free and figuring it out. And I just knew hey, at 41, dude, I have some stuff I need to learn. Like, there's just too much noise on this planet. Anyway, I've taken a lot of risk, and they've always paid off for me. Everyone.
Betting on yourself.
I'm on one right now. It's probably the biggest risk play I've ever put on, but I'm so certain. And with me, the problem with me is that if you're sitting here giving me, hey, Gary, look, let's go buy Bitcoin, and this is the reason Bitcoin's great. You give me this thesis that is near perfect, like 99.9%, and you're like, you know, I'm out, and then I'm gonna look at you and say, well, so dude, like, how allocated are you? Well, I got 3% allocation. I'm like,
not all in,
bro. You just gave me the best pitch of your life. So I'm
sitting here until the end.
I'm sitting here totally. Well, you're not really convinced, or something is in the subconscious
fear,
that
something
says to you, you should not do this.
Yeah.
You should be diversified. And I'm looking at this, going, dude, my thesis is perfect. I have met so many people, and no one can blow me off my little perch. I am not allocated enough. Like, literally walking around, I need to sell that. I need to sell this. $46 million, this house. $46 million. Had I taken the funds to buy this house and put them in Bitcoin, and this will happen again. This will continue going up.
This new,
not the house,
no.
but this other product's going to outstrip it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just a really interesting way for me because for me, all money, all great things occur on almost an all-in bet. There's never a diversity.
That's always been the way it's been with me too. Yeah, not
Branson didn't do it.
No, look at
Tony
like
didn't
Steve
do it.
Jobs. Yeah, they're all in on the one thing.
All in. Grant doesn't own one equity. He's all in on his deal, man.
Yeah.
I mean, all in, like super all in. Who else? Elon doesn't have a bunch of cash in his bank.
No, not at all. He's stock rich. He takes loans, which is brilliant because
totally.
you don't pay taxes on it.
And Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, turned a computing company around to the likes that I've never seen anyone do this. Like, the company was worth $60 million 2 years ago. It's worth $7 billion today. Just by changing his mindset. Like, we're really looking at a paradigm going, this is fucked up, man. The way money is being managed, my people are having to work twice as hard to produce the same amount of income. You know, so it's just fascinating. I think I'm really excited about where we are on this planet right now because I think people are starting to wake up.
I think so too. The way the information gets out globally, and you do see young, even teenagers now cluing in, studying some of the same stuff, and just creating empires in their teens, right? Teens, 20s. So it's happening. And I know other people like myself that are committed to like teaching the information. That's starting to happen. It's starting to connect pockets, you know. So I think we are in an evolution. The world's a crazy place right now. A lot of stuff going on, but I do think you're right.
I think it's exciting. If we don't nuke ourselves and like go stupid, right? To me, it's an extremely exciting time. And I think that's what maybe drove him. I don't know, but that's what drives me. Is I love being around people, good people, when they're not that, right, and learning. And I think your business is going to be. I think your business is probably better than when Bob was doing it.
It is because we can get information. His biggest challenge in the '60s. He has a story. He was in a hotel in Chicago by himself. Wrote down on a pad of paper, "I will have a company that operates in every single country in the world." This is before the internet. So I give Bob credit for the internet. Like, there's no way he could have gotten it without all the technological advances, Zoom, this, that, language translate, all the things that had to happen.
Well, all he had to do was write it down.
And then go all in.
Yeah, totally.
And
now he's there. He didn't know how he got there.
Yeah.
Look, I wrote on a piece of paper one day I was going to run an energy company in Europe. And my wife looked at me and said,
like, what?
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? You're in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
You can barely speak English. You're way too aggressive, okay? And 3 months later, a company buys us from England. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I do not know how I don't have to know how I'm going to get there.
That's a very profound statement. That's what stops most people. If somebody wants to set a goal, I use numbers because it's easy, right? Numbers people get right away. It could be anything. It could be athlete or curing cancer. It could be anything. But if somebody's making $100,000 a year and they want to make, $100,000 a month, they may get a fleeting thought. But the next question is, well, how am I going to do that?
That's right.
And because they can't answer it, they stop thinking.
Yeah.
But then what I say to them is, if you need to get to $100K a month, you'd already be there. You're almost never going to know the how on a big idea. You have to understand how this universe works. It starts with conscious thought. And that's what starts attraction. And then next thing you know, a person, a circumstances, a job, something like that, a phone call. Like, that's not coincidence. That's the law of attraction in action.
It's a coincidence for everyone else.
For everyone
except
else.
the guy that wrote it down.
Yes.
Like, hey, man. Really, I could do more of this. See my guys and your guys wanting to terminate it.
No worries.
Fuck you guys. Well, I was going to ask you a question about the teenager. You think you could build something where, I actually like your idea. I might want to work with you on something, but I have this, I would love to hire a bunch of 17, 18-year-old kids right now. Bring them in. Do not go to college.
Bro, okay? You hit something on the head.
I'll hire 15 of them right now.
1,000,000%. And then put them through a curriculum that's completely different.
Yeah, but this is going to be the deal, though, okay? The parents or the kids need to man up and understand something. You're going to spend $250,000 in college. Why wouldn't you spend $25,000 sending your kids to a mentor? And they are an apprentice. I'm not paying you shit, okay? I'm paying you in freaking wisdom, okay? The most valuable thing I could possibly give anyone else is my experience, just like you.
Absolutely. And that's really what it is. It's mentorship.
Dude, it's the Michelangelo.
I would be all in on something like that.
The Michelangelo phenomenon, right? He never studied how to do marble.
No.
What was his first job? using a broom, cleaning up the dust from a mediocre marble maker. But he didn't go in there and start, hey man, listen to me with my earbuds.
Yeah.
Look at what I'm doing. I'm naturally talented. No, you actually know how to clean dust right now. That's all. And he got around it. He started doing it.
Yeah.
He became genius, right? And he probably, some universal coincidence. I think it's a win-win for everyone.
It is, absolutely.
Okay, the family doesn't spend $250,000. Like I've got 2 daughters. One will go to a veterinary school, and I'm looking at the other one going,
How old is?
16 and 14. And I'm looking at the other one going, whatever it costs to spend money with her to vet school, you get the exact same amount of money, go travel the world, dude.
That's amazing.
Get on a plane, go
That's
to
amazing.
Portugal, Spain, go everywhere. And you're
So
going without us.
My
Go by
daughter's
yourself.
27, and I started working with her in this material at 18. When she was 18 is when I just met Bob, and I started, and she has crafted a life that health, wealth, love, happiness, like marrying the man of her dreams. She's doing what she wants. She coaches with us. She teaches the same stuff. I'd love to introduce you to your daughter. A lot of younger girls, I don't want to say look up to her, but they
should.
Like that's what she's doing. She's doing what she wants, where she wants, with who she wants, when she wants.
Love that.
Like I'm jealous of her life because
Yeah.
I had 40 years of
we gotta
virus
go
code
into some of that
programming.
unconscious.
Yeah, seriously, I had
Yeah.
40 years of fucked up programming. To be honest, right? Traditional things. I wasn't around a Richard Branson and that, it just is what it is. It's not good or bad, but she had the benefit of at 18 years old. And so yeah, if you ever want me to introduce her to your girls, it'd be a good, just open conversation.
No, for sure. I mean, like one thing I would never do, I think Grant is going down a different path. I would never have my kids work for me. Never. I'll send them to work for you. And go, dude, you need to fire.
Yeah.
She needs to get fired sooner or later. But like, why? I don't want my kid working for me.
Yeah.
I need to be able to teach all these kids, hey dude, flunk, you showed up 8 minutes late. I ain't gonna do that to my daughter, dude.
No, I know what you're saying though. You don't want to, you
Go
got to
home,
learn.
Get out of here.
Yep.
It's just too close. And they're staying too close. They need to get out, man. Get out. Like none of the guys you're talking about were, on the tit forever.
Nope, not a one of them.
Every one of them are winning.
They've all
we
come
should
from-
write a book on how many wounds of successful people. 'Cause, I mean, Elon's life was brutal. Brutal. Like even Grant remembers our life growing up very different. I mean, his imprints, like the whole quarter story he tells about losing the quarter, I was like, dude, like lose a quarter, lose $1, it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But for him, he had this like, overwhelming cognition. I mean, God looks at his bank accounts all the time. Like, I don't do any of that. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's weird. It's just we're both
Everybody's,
weird.
yeah, exactly. We're all weird. That's it.
Yeah.
I love being weird. I don't want to be normal, right?
So your team is located where? You guys all
We're
remote?
remote, so we have people actually all over the world, but we're remote.
How big's
yeah.
the team?
There's only like half a dozen of us, but we have a lot of we have some subcontractors that are overseas. We do a lot of fractional for like video production, things of that nature. It's not full time.
Right. And who's your ideal client? If somebody's looking to improve their life?
So that's the thing. We cast a really wide net. So what we've done is we've built curriculum and programs for, I hate to say everybody, but it really is. So it could be any walk of life. But it's somebody that wants to get out of the mainstream thinking and without going through the mainstream, like get a job, do the thing. So it's really entrepreneurship. They could be broke and new, or I have a couple of billionaires I work with too. It doesn't matter what level, because wealth is not money. We have a wheel of life.
Say that again?
Wealth is not money.
That's exactly right.
It's not. And when we say we're wealth and mindset experts, but we define wealth on our webpage, and it's a combination.
Your daughter has the perfect wealth.
She's so balanced.
Yeah.
But it's it's the business that you're in. It's doing something, whether it makes money or not, it's irrelevant. And then there's finances. So finances can come from owning 1,000 doors, but you could be over here doing charity work for business, right? Bob says you don't work for money, you work for pleasure and purpose.
Yeah.
We're not taught that, right? We combine those. So we have business and finances as two separate things. And then we have relationships, friendships, family, your romantic life. We have philanthropy, spirituality, and then like your physical surroundings. This is awesome, right? this, you walk around here, like it brings you up. It's an energy thing.
You feel good here. You feel like
amazing. The energy here is sick. It's
walk through the front door.
Amazing.
As soon as I walked through the front door, they wanted 12 mil for this. I was not going to pay 12 million. I came one night, I was bored. As soon as I walked through the front door, I'm like, whoa, the energy in this home, there's so much love in here.
Yeah.
And then I heard the story, there's definitely death, love, there was all kinds of stuff going on in this house, but it was clean energy. I usually walk into homes and they're two-dimensional, it's interesting you felt that, because
it's crazy energy.
It's had great energy, really. And I have to be around that. Now, when you get into, I'm sure you've made one or two mistakes in your life.
Yeah, oh my God.
You've been married 3 times. But
I'm very transparent.
when you can feel energy like this, interesting, I am too. I think we're in the age of authenticity.
Yes.
And totally, dude, I make so many mistakes, I don't do these shows perfectly. And people like it. People are like, oh wow, he's
they
just
relate
a regular
to
guy,
it
dude.
because there's no perfect people out there.
CNN, Fox News.
Yeah.
When you get into negative energy, like let's say you get tempted to go do something that's not within your perfect situation of efficiency, and what happens to you around negative energy, like the polar of this?
So a lot less than used to, because this is what we study, right? So I'm able to compartmentalize and block.
You don't get hooked into it, huh? You don't get baited?
No, but most people do because they don't even understand how this works, right? And one of the things Bob used to talk about is like sometimes like siblings, our family can sometimes be the worst influence, right? My family was amazing, but we were broke. So there wasn't a financial influence. But some people have like negative influences, and these people love us. Don't quit GE, right? Don't quit the job. Don't go start your own thing. That comes from love.
You don't need to work any harder.
And that all
when's it enough?
Exactly.
You could lose all the money that you work for so hard for.
And it comes from love, but it's a negative chirp. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's actually ignorant.
It's ignorance.
It's total ignorance. You shouldn't listen to your family.
So we need to be able to compartmentalize that stuff.
I never ask my family. Me and Grant never ask each other for advice.
Oh wow.
Zero. We will argue. Real estate, that's a stupid idea. He's now coming around. We literally look at the world very, very differently.
That's interesting.
All his businesses have to cash flow. It's one of his rules. And I'm like, that's just wrong, dude. There's so much money made in private equity. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's this, because I can get pulled into bad, like, when I don't mean bad energy.
Well, I always say
it's exotic energy.
Negative doesn't mean bad. It's just negative and positive. It doesn't mean good and bad.
Me, but
it's not good for you. Yeah.
Well, it's not efficient. I can just get off track.
Yeah.
And lose a year. Might have fun. And I'm not even judging anymore. I don't know if it's right or wrong and it's not evil or anything. Like this deal with this 12-year wife that created 2 unbelievable children. But dude, it was a negative deal.
Yeah.
Like it was like sucked 12 years of my life out. I had no clue.
I had a 10-year one of those.
The mentee was going to be, okay, I can take over now. Like, oh wow, this is classic Greek tragedy. Yeah, but that's what I get with 20 years younger. And it's not really about the 20 years younger. Just we had another subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Working against my subconscious mind, right? Different agendas.
Absolutely.
But I noticed that, and this is what I was trying to get to, and maybe you've cured yourself, but I can be attracted to a different energy. And it always seems a little bit exotic, extreme kind of things, fairies.
Well, we crave contrast. It's a God-given thing that human being. Doesn't mean the contrast is going to be good for us, though.
Yeah.
You can get numb to all this. Life can just be so good that you crave the opposite, which might be a negative thing. That might be where some of that comes into play.
I don't think I'll be craving anything completely opposite of this. Wouldn't want people, I wish they'd all go away. Like, having people here,
Yeah.
other than Bobby, I could literally stay here 3 or 4 weeks, not see anyone.
Well, your awareness is higher, right?
Starting to judge, hey, is that bad? Is that bad? But I want to be
It's
here.
evolution.
Exactly.
It's just evolution. It's awareness.
Well, I think I'm thinking more.
The quiet time to think makes sense.
Like, well, and that's why I was asking about thinking, because I'm actually putting out energy, man.
Yeah,
Like,
when you're here by yourself, you're thinking.
It requires energy.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I can't do it when there's a lot of noise here. I can't do that here.
Makes sense.
Couldn't do it an hour before this meeting. I'm preparing, you're preparing. I need the solitude, and it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm a doer. You're a doer. Like, I'm like, okay, I should be calling people and making deals. Why? I need to be manifesting.
1,000,000%.
What I need to be doing.
Something we need to take the calm and whether it's meditation or whatever that looks like is taking time.
Yeah.
Because if we just do, then you're not thinking of the quantum leap stuff.
Now,
we can get stuck
on
doing.
an everyday basis, what do you do now? Is your discipline, because you brought up the meditation.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in the morning routine, which is, for me, it's mental, physical, and spiritual priming. So ideally, and it's not every day, discipline is, willpower is the thing, but I'm get up at the gym at 5, I'm on the cycling with my eyes closed, and I'm listening to, we call it a life script. It's my own self talking to me about the future, as if it's done now. It's called a power life script, but it's a form of guided meditation. My body's cycling, but I'm meditating because my eyes are closed. And then from there, I hit the weights and I'll flip to either what I call intellectual content, studying something, either in my industry or like all the books we're talking about. So I'll hit the weights. Everybody in gyms listen to music while I'm educating.
Yeah.
So I'm working out. So it's spiritual, physical, and mental priming. And then I work from home. So I get in the office and whether I lead the sales team, so I still do sales calls. I love sales. Bob was a salesman, so I still interact on that level and lead the team. Building content. We have 4 different one-to-many group coaching programs for the week, so I run that. And that's the base of it.
And then any more, do you do journaling, stuff like that?
I do journaling, yep.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in journaling at night. I usually do, a little bit of a nightly routine, there's some reading, some journaling. Yeah, huge fan of journaling.
You a big sleeper?
6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need 8 or anything like that. Just all kinds of different theories. And you need what you think you need is my opinion, what you believe, right?
Yeah,
your belief system.
I think you need, oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, I haven't studied a lot, but I mean,
Yeah.
but Arnold was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And he did pretty well.
Yeah, I've gone 4 hours and then I've gone 10. It just changes.
Yeah.
The situation changes. We'll close up after this. I just keep getting back to this energy thing because I'm trying to paint. I'm not trying to paint. I am painting now.
I love how you changed that.
Corrected it, yeah.
The instant you start painting, you're a painter. I don't care if it's good or bad.
Yeah. Well, my theory is that if I do it, if I could get rid of all of this and all I did was paint, I would become a great painter.
Amazing, of course.
There is no skill. There's doing.
It's learned behaviors, yeah.
It is amazing to me that when I paint in England, when I'm living there, and I just show up in a hotel and start painting, but if I'm in Europe painting, my paint is different. Not the paint, the painting.
What comes out is different. That totally makes sense.
Does it?
Oh, the energy,
Some
a whole
people
different.
look at me and go, dude, what are you talking
No, a
about?
whole different
It's
part of
just
the
you,
world.
bro. It's just you. I'm like, nah.
The
dude.
earth is a the energy that comes out of that's a whole nother.
So different.
Yeah, where you are, I mean,
Sends
all that
shivers up my
matters.
spines. How bizarre that is.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for being here, man.
No, absolutely. It's been my
Really,
absolute pleasure.
really,
I could go on for 4 hours with you.
No, well, let's do a podcast or something.
Yeah.
When you're back to where you are, we'll do a YouTube thing or something and bring your team together with the people that are following me are energy guys, finance guys, Bitcoin people. And
That would be amazing.
dude, I see the world's coming together.
I do too, and
We
I
have
think
78-year-old people on deal, 18-year-old.
1,000,000%. And I think it's really good to bring experts in different fields to come together and educate, right?
And I'm totally into collaboration. I
Same,
don't even think,
same.
I heard some
Yeah.
podcast the other day, hey man, you're taking my users. I'm like, bro, you can have all my users, dude.
No,
Let
see,
me
that's
get
a
you- let me get you
fear-based
on
thinking.
the space, my friend, and I'll introduce you to
Yeah.
everybody, okay? I'll pump you. You can't take anything from me, dude.
That's the healthy
world
attitude.
is starving for data.
Yes.
And they'll take it from anybody they can get it.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to tag into other people, right?
To our earlier point, it's fear-based thinking. When they think they're going to lose, that's competition, not creation.
Yeah.
No shortage of people, no shortage of money. There's
no
a lack of
shortage of
awareness and
anything.
distribution.
Yeah.
No shortage of food. People are starving. No shortage of food. It's awareness and distribution.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'd love to collaborate, especially when it comes to educating young people. We could build some pros. A whole bunch of things we can do. The technology's here. I think it's the right time in the world, and I do think parents would forego the college and do something. I think the timing is now. 20 years ago, maybe not.
It's not
now,
working.
you got people like Elon Musk said, I never went to Harvard, but most of my employees had.
I mean,
I think the time's
Can you
good.
imagine, like, me and Grant working for being mentored by, I think the robots are going to solve this now. That's why school won't happen. Education will
gonna
be
evolve and
collapsing
change.
in the next 7 years. Because you and I are going to be able to, we won't do it, but we'll order up. Hey, Elon, give me, I've got a kid in my home that's really artistically prone. I'll take a little Degas, I'll take a little of this, Dassault, I'll take a little of Michelangelo, put a little Elon in there, put this new guy. All of a sudden you got a computer program and the kid is now paying attention because you're talking to her
Talking their
about what she's
language. It's like
interested
talking
in.
the love language.
Come
Amen,
on, man.
brother.
This is so stupid
No,
easy.
it is, but like I said, it's the, I don't know where this is going. It's the government's.
We don't. Oh no, dude, I don't care.
Right?
The truth can't have a censor filter.
Yes, I agree.
The government's fucking it up. I think everybody.
The school system hasn't changed in 120 years.
I think it has changed for the worse.
No, for the work, but what they're
Yes.
doing, they put everybody in a row and they just math, science. I'm just saying that the general structure, it definitely has gotten worse because the classes have gotten bigger and the qualifications to become a teacher, right? So the genius guy that I was telling you about, I'll wrap up with this, that was broke, he said what we should be doing is paying teachers $500,000 a year
Totally.
and having the most qualified people and using video and like getting in front of bigger groups, but having the most brilliant people that have led a successful life, that want to give back, $500,000 a year, and that's the whole problem. They get the lowest wage. They get treated like garbage. Like
You know, if you interview teachers, and I have, ask them what the number one problem is. They will tell you one word: politics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why would there be politics in a school system when it's not generating but $67,000 of salaries?
Yeah.
That means it's all ego. It's all administrative crap coming from the government. Bro, these programs are bad. Okay, they are. I told my kids last night, they go to private school, you have no obligation. And like, Nancy, I know you probably hear this, zero obligation to answer any question with any teacher, any consultant, any counselor. There is absolutely nothing any of these people should be asking about my children's family life, sex preference, whether they've ever thought of suicide before or not.
Yep.
Okay, you do not have the right to run surveys on my fucking children. Stop it, okay? Knock it off. There's an opt-out form, man. You can fill in an opt-out form and send them to the school.
Good.
No one knows this.
Yeah.
Right? And quite frankly, the teachers, the parents, are 80% responsible for this problem because they're literally outsourcing the kids. They don't want to take care of the kids during 8 till 5 because it's inconvenient. It's hard, dude. It's a lot of work.
Well, some of them working too. I mean, it's the dynamics because of their whole school experience.
This is where we get back to Bitcoin and that the dollar's getting crushed, and that's why these people, I mean, they can't live on 60. You're not picking up a good person at 62 grand a year. The teachers are constantly worried, right?
Yep.
Anyway, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, same, brother. Appreciate you having me.